So, yeah, why don't you begin by telling me what it is that you would like to discuss today?
An issue or something I want to talk about. I formulated it as a question. Yeah. So the question is, why is it so important for me to understand things?
Do you want to say a little bit more about what you mean by things and in what context?
Yeah, things is very general, yes. So maybe it's more intellectual, more academic. So learning about, reading about different topics, different subjects. I've studied quite a lot, university, lots of different courses, and graduated in a lot of different topics. So it's mainly academic, intellectual areas that I'm talking about, where I want to, yeah, I've seen this tendency in me. I want to understand when I encounter something which gets my interests or seems a little bit strange, foreign to me. I want to know it. I want to understand it. I want to know what it is, how it works, what it is about.
So, is it your desire to want to understand it, or is it something that's mandatory for you? Like, do you feel forced to understand something, or do you want to explore?
It's more a desire.
Okay,
It's
so it's
more,
coming from within, right?
yeah. Yes.
Okay, so then do you see that as a good thing or an enforced thing?
Mainly as a good thing, at least
Okay.
more of a good thing.
Okay, so if it's a good thing, then it's something that you want to do, that you want to like pursue, and this is sort of an internal drive,
Yeah.
right?
It is.
It's something it's similar what the Bhagavad Gita would talk about as jnana marga, like the path of wisdom. Like you want to understand what the world is about, what the universe is, what you are, like both internally who you are and what the world is around you. So that is definitely a thing of admiration. So your question is, why do I need to understand things? So that seems like you don't want to understand things. So is there any kind of obstacle between your inner desire and outside expression?
Okay, why it's a problem could be that if I focus on this, it will mean that I will not focus on other things. So
Okay.
if I focus a lot of spend lots of time, energy on this, there is the suspicion that it might be a little bit excessive. Why do I spend so much time on this when
Okay. Okay.
there are so many other things I could do?
Okay. So, it could be the sort of canonical sort of, tension between jnana and karma. So, jnana is wisdom, karma is action. So, what you're saying is that if you give more preference to wisdom or gaining knowledge, then it stops you from doing actions that you need to do to manage your day to day life, to earn money or to spend time with your family or whatever it is, like, what your other pursuits are. So, do you feel like you are sort of, caught in that tension, or is it something still different?
That makes sense. Yes, being
Yeah,
caught in
that makes
attention.
sense.
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean that's a very good spot to have that awareness, because what you're describing is basically like the lack of balance between wisdom and action. And technically, according to the Bhagavad Gita, both are paths, both are the sort of paths to self understanding or the liberation or what have you. I mean, depending on how far you want to go. But basically, these are both good paths, and these are both the paths which make you more aware of yourself and the world around you. So, those are both good things. And even in a daily life, for example, if we take up a job that involves some kind of intellectual understanding, whether it's a job of an engineer or a medical practitioner or a philosopher or a teacher or a musician, practically all these things require you to understand the details of your craft and the application of that craft, right? So even people who are doing academic philosophy still have to learn how to use the technology to write their thoughts, or like, how to publish it, how to talk to people, how to talk to students, and that kind of stuff. So there's not a single job which requires you to just think and do nothing more than thinking. But there's also not a single job where you just do action without any thinking, right? So they both kind of go together, like there has to be a synthesis of those two. So then how do you decide, like, how much is enough of one thing than the other? So have you given it a thought? Like, do you sit down strategically, let's say at the beginning of a week, and say to yourself, okay, this is what I need to learn for what I need to accomplish today. So I'm going to spend like X number of hours on figuring that out, and then X number of hours in actually implementing those things. So do you assign that kind of strategic time?
No, I
Okay.
don't. No.
So if you do, will that help you?
No, I don't know. Okay, it would create maybe more balance, I guess, because if I decided to do it, I would put more
Yeah,
time put on
yeah,
the application of the knowledge. Yeah.
right. So you need to do both. Like, you need to figure out that you need to do something or some kind of understanding, but you also need to put a limit on that.
Yeah.
Because if you just do the thinking without any application, then you're going to say to yourself, like, all I'm doing is trying to understand this and it's not helping me. But partly you may not be putting the limit on it, and you might be spending all your time just doing thinking. And then if you don't have an actual product and output, then it might feel like, sort of you are forced to do something that you don't want to do. But in actuality, it could be that you're not dividing your time appropriately, and you're not doing the output that you're supposed to do. Would that make sense?
It makes sense. Yes, it does make sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm also thinking what stops me from doing this is that I enjoy the thinking more.
All right. Yeah.
The other part, I would
Yeah.
force myself to do it, so it's easy not to do it.
Yeah, true. And that is actually a problem with a lot of academic people, who are very intellectually motivated. So they find so much pleasure in thinking that they don't focus enough of, from the output part. But the output part is also necessary. Won't you agree?
Oh yeah, yeah, I
Right.
agree.
So, for example, if you have a goal and you need to reach that goal, then the output is very necessary to get to the point of understanding what and how to reach the goal, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Let's say you are a completely, like, what we call in Sanskrit buddhijeevi, like somebody who just lives off their intelligence. But even if you are like that, you still need the support of karma or action. And if you like, we can talk about it in the Greek terminology as well. But I think we are sort of, on the right track here. So let's say, this sort of, there has to be a balance between wisdom and knowledge together, and action. So jnana and karma. So if you don't have the balance, then you don't achieve your goal. So as a result, you feel lacking, and then you blame it on the part which is actually providing a lot of pleasure. So pleasure and happiness are very important too. But what you are getting right now, sort of intellectual pleasure, is not going to get you to the pleasure that you get out of accomplishment of your goal. And then what is your goal?
I don't know. I don't think I have a set goal, really.
Okay,
So
but you must have some goal, as otherwise why would you just read something? Do you just read for reading pleasure, or do you read to understand something which might be effective in accomplishing something?
it's more for the pleasure of doing it. So it's not to accomplish, most of the time anyway, it's not to accomplish anything, but something just piques my interest, and I do it for the pleasure of just exploring it.
Okay, so you're taking in a lot, which is amazing. Not many people, sort of are able to absorb so much knowledge. So you're very, very good at that. But then, how do you become productive member of the society? So you have to have some kind of output. There has to be a balance between input and output. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay, so then you need to have some goal, which is sort of, going to maybe get you a job or going to produce a paper on what you're writing, or maybe use that knowledge to teach students or people or whatever it is. So there has to be some kind of accompaniment with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I work as a teacher, so
Right.
that's my output. That's what I do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So then whatever you are trying to understand benefits your students.
So some of it, yes. I would say not all of it, but it can.
What do you teach?
It- I teach philosophy and I teach English.
Okay. So, do you read things which are other than English literature and philosophical literature?
Um, yeah, it happens. It's mainly philosophical literature or no novels, fiction, but
Mm.
that's English, much of it.
Okay, so that's a good thing, right? Because if you read more English literature, then it's going to make you a better teacher for your literature students. And if you read more philosophical literature, it's going to be better for your philosophy students. Supposing tomorrow you start reading about agriculture, then you can find out some outlet where you are teaching agriculture to people who are beginning agriculture. I mean, just to take an example. Would that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah. Or you can start your own garden and you can teach yourself in a way that you both have understanding and output,
Yeah, yes.
right? So, so I guess as long as you are balancing what you're learning and what you're giving, then that's a good thing, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So then, as long as you finish your or accomplish your duties of teaching and being a really good teacher, then you can spend all your remaining time reading or understanding whatever you want to do. So then that kind of creates a limit by itself. That here's your teaching hours. So here's a bucket of your teaching hours, and that is already been assigned to you, and you're committing to that. And then whatever time is left, that can be your personal things plus reading, either English literature or philosophical literature. And since that gives you a lot of pleasure, then you can just, spend all your time doing that. And like, everything else goes in that bucket, whether it's your social life, your personal life, your, and then if you want, like, you can create further divisions in that. But then these are the basic two things. Or let's put it this way, you take out all your other responsibilities, such as your personal responsibilities, your social responsibilities, or social life, or whatever, sports, whatever else there is, and then you put aside the teaching hours, and then whatever remaining time is, then you devote it to your reading. So that way you have balance in your life,
Yeah.
and then you don't need to worry about why do I need to understand things, because understanding something is actually a very lofty goal. I mean, it's a great thing.
Yeah. Okay, yes, I'm just thinking about now you talk about the teaching bucket. Of course, there is the time that I actually spent teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm thinking about, yes, and there is the time I spent reading. But then there would be some kind of, connection between the two. Some of the time I spent reading, maybe I also need to think about, okay, this that I read now, how can I use it for my teaching? So
Mm-hmm.
that would be one way of reading, and another way of reading, just no, I just read it because it's fun and I have no goal to do
Mm-hmm.
it. So it
Yeah,
would,
and
I
that's
think, yeah, the reading would be kind of split in reading for pleasure and reading for preparing for teaching.
yeah, yeah, that's true. And as academics, we just read a lot. We read a variety of things. I mean, sometimes when I meet people who are very accomplished academics or scholars, whether they're academic or non-academic, they are so widely read. And they are all sort of like, very curious and very interested in finding out about other aspects of life. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great thing. And once we have a good understanding of a topic, we can always find ways of how to make it useful. So that's not a problem. And of course, you have to read, for your job. So as a teacher, that is her primary responsibility. And that's still, pleasuresome because we enjoy teaching people or teaching students.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question?
It gives an answer to the question, yes, by problematizing the problem, questioning why it would be a problem. So yes,
I
question.
think it's more important to have a perspective, because sometimes things sort of hit us as problems, but there's also some germ that we are trying to explore over there. And if you look at it from the Indian philosophy point of view, this would be described as jnana karma samuchaya, meaning sort of like, the synthesis of knowledge and action. And that is very important. And a lot of us, feel like life is never in balance. Like either we are doing too much of one thing or too much of another. And to find a perfect balance, it doesn't always happen in sort of in the course of a day. Sometimes you have to think of it as weekly or monthly or even annually, because there are just so many other challenges that life throws in our direction, and then we need to sit down and think, did we do this, did we do that? So at the end of a month you can check off the list and see, like, how much did I do this month, so maybe I can improve the balance for the next month. But you can also do that, conversation to yourself at the end of every day. And at the beginning of the day, you can have sort of 15 minutes of strategic thinking as to what am I going to do today and how am I going to split my day today. Yeah, so I guess we can check off the problem as solved in terms of
Yes.
perspective.
In terms of this balance thing, yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
interesting. The two terms you mentioned, karma and the other.
Jnana or jnana. It's pronounced in two different ways. In Sanskrit, it's jnana.
Yeah,
In Hindi, our modern way of pronouncing the same word is jnana.
okay. So it's
It's spelled
building.
as Jnana
Okay, yeah.
in English. Yeah,
Okay. All right. So doing and thinking.
yeah. So jnana is thinking or knowledge,
Yeah.
and karma is action,
Yeah.
and samatya is sort of like synthesis of those two.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you look at it, I mean, just to give you another thought, just for fun,
Yeah.
food for thought, is that it becomes very important in the spiritual philosophy as well. And even in spiritual philosophy, where the end of life in terms of goal of life is liberation in Indian philosophy. And there also you always have to have knowledge and action together. So it can't be just knowledge for the sake of knowledge, but it has to have some kind of an output. And so action in terms of what is beneficial for the society or so plays a big part in that as well.
Yeah. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge is not a good thing.
Uh, yeah, that alone is not a good thing. It's important. Yeah, it's extremely important. It's not, I mean, you can't do without it. But that has a significance which is limited. So you have to have both things go together so that you can achieve the final goal of life. I mean, again, if we discuss the academic philosophy, there are some philosophers who sort of, take objection to that, and they say like just knowing Brahman is important and enough in itself. So this is a slightly different view. But the philosophy of the Gita would say jnana and karma both are important.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
did you ever think that this would have relevance to Indian philosophy or the Bhagavad Gita? Your question.
Uh, I didn't think of it particularly.
Yeah, but it does. See?
Connected to the Bhagavad Gita, no. But that it can have surprising connections. That's okay. That in itself doesn't surprise me so much. I've seen that before, but yeah. So it's interesting to connect it to Indian philosophy as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing a very interesting question, Matthias.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.